It seems my dice bag overfloweth. This is sort of my six-siders that don't have little rounded corners, which feels appropriate for this game. Maybe I should have brought the rounded corner one down, but I didn't realize just how much that's gotten stuffed. Probably largely because of MMP Gamers stuff. I've been buying a lot of that. This was at a certain fixed level for a long time, and I think I'm going to have to parse that into, parse is the wrong term, I think, but sort that into a couple of different containers. Alright, we're going to actually start. I am having so much trouble doing anything at this point in my life for whatever reason. So, we have supposedly the Quinn first, but I don't know if that's right. And here's where it's really horrible. So, if that's supposed to be the... Oh, there they are. No. So if that's supposed to be this, the Xiao is supposed to be this, there's a problem. But they're down here. Okay, so I gotta try to figure out who these are. They may not be in play yet. They're not. Okay, so I had expected these to come in order, and they are not. What I see here is an order 1 for the Ken. Now, that isn't right. They're order 38 there, which is troublesome. So now I'm gonna have to try to figure out who is supposed to be where. And my guess is they've got the Quinn and the Ken mixed up on the turn order chart. That appears to be the case. I've got order 38 on the Quinn here, so, and I'm going to be mispronouncing things. I've been watching some history of China, and there's no way the transliteration of the characters trying to get the sounds to match English, it doesn't really work. So let's see, I've heard, I'm trying to find them. I don't see them here. They might be, this is pronounced Xiao. I think it's Z-H-O-U normally is the literation, but this game uses a different transliteration than maybe is common for in the US. But anyway, the instructions in the book as to how you should pronounce things are also different. Yeah, this is them. So I just throw my hands up in the air, and I will try to do my best. I apologize for my butchery in advance. My usual bad situation with pronunciation of strange things will be worse than normal. So, our first nation is going to be this Qiang, and I want to take a look and see what they want to do. So, they want to own Tibet. I think this is each other plane, which is important because Tibet's a highland. They won't get the 1 point for the highlands, they'll just get the 3 points for Tibet. That's following what is usual as opposed to anything direct from the rules. So I can't go into things like Bhutan here. And while I have an attack advantage, does it make sense? Well, first of all, I get a half point. Whee! On the track. Let's do these right. That doesn't give me any reinforcements, but now I can move. Now, I could get an advantage here against the Quinn by attacking, and maybe that's nice, right? Except I have to find them and pay attention to who and what they're interested in. Now, I hope they're not this Qiang. I'm this Qiang. Oh, I don't want to beat up my own people. Given that, I think I will go into Yunnan. And thereby increase my production of people. This could be a problem because defense is less effective in this game than it is in many of the series. And I'm going to need a way to represent things where I'm going to flip this over to indicate that I have played their turn. Now, I got to be careful because some of the players have special turns. Not right off the bat, I don't think. It's hard to remember what the hell I did, right? Okay, so my second is the Han. We're right here. Okay, let's figure out where they are. They're in Anhui over here. They're going to get themselves 1 point. And I probably do not want to advance with them. There are no warring states. Well, so this is weird. So each warring state army during any game turn is worth 3 points. Whereas other things are not. So the warring states don't exist yet, but I'm assuming because this says any game turn and it lists these, I can attack these. So I'm looking at the Xiao, Wei, Yawn, Kui, Chu, or Quinn. And I am interested in any planes. I see these numbers and I think, oh, is that value? Rivers. Do rivers have an effect on combat? No. So I may want to try to move down towards the south more. I don't have any restrictions that are listed here. On the other hand, see, what I'm thinking is if I can expand, I can grow. Well, how big is my population is another factor. And I look here, and I don't have a lot of pieces, and that's one of the things. Some of the countries just don't have much. Well, we're going to go in here, and we're going to attack. And at this point, I should have green dice. Okay, we're going to attack, and I should be hitting, I believe, on a 4. I'll have to look at this more carefully. And the defender, I think, hits on a 5 or a 6. I'll use the red die for the defender. I think I got a hit on them. Let's make sure. So the numbers are a little different than they are in most. I'm going to throw them into the current loss box. Actually, I'm going to just throw them onto my card because that's easier for me to score. But this country is done. So now I can score the point. And I will be getting 3 points for killing that. Now, I am the purple player, which is going to be hard to do. I mean, this is how I hurt myself once. I tried to do this on camera. And this is the Han player, so I will record 3 victory points for them there. I used to play this, the Britannia game. It had charts like this on the back, but I was never a photocopy person. Didn't have a printer that could do that easily. I just used to do it with a running total. It's useful to have this information at the end of play to kind of reconstruct the game or whatever, but there's no need to fill out these charts. Okay, so that put it to, the next one should be the Xiao. I want to say Xiao or Xiao, but apparently it's Xiao. And it's spelled differently than that where I'm used to seeing it. I'm going to check on my coffee. Xiao are a little different. I have 2 territories, so we shoot them all the way down there. Because, hey, they also want to kill the warring states. 3 points each, that seems fantastic, but they also get points for plains and highlands. So let's take a look. Are the Yawn warring states? They are, and that makes things somewhat appealing to me to move this way. Get myself into a corner where I have room for production. Now, one important thing, keep an eye on what your resource stock is, whatever. You know, spreading out and occupying territory like is usually important in Britannia games because you have enough pieces to occupy a certain amount of area. Well, here it looks more like the actual the battles may be more important. I'll grab blue for the defender because he's blue. The defender won the battle. Now, I have the option, I could use bonus chits, etc. It's definitely not the time of the game to do that. This says, during attack, I am guessing, but it's only a guess, that the same is said of the Yawn. But we do have to check them, so yeah, that they do damage during attack too. That's going to be problematic because there are a lot of nations in play at once. And so we failed in what we wanted to do this turn. And that'll put me to the next one, which is Y. Again, similar setup. I should be in Hubei and Henan over here. What is my... I don't have a whole lot of pieces. Again, I'm one of these little warring states. Is there something that I could wipe out? Well, yeah. I could wipe out the Han. That's appealing. Let's move this to 2. Now, I can move 2 units in and almost guarantee myself the advantage here. We could have done this in some of the other attacks as well. And I will be getting a reinforcement next turn, even if I do that. So I'm going to drop into here. And I'm going to use 2 dice to 1. We get a successful attack. That is going to get the Y victory point, and I have just moved and taken another area. Now we're seeing sort of this power vacuum showing up here. I got to record these victory points and whatever. What I want to do is I want to get something to track whose turn it is up here. I don't know if this is optimal. I'm not sure what other piece of garbage to use. But there's so many nations and I'm so unfamiliar with the game that I want to have something up there. And maybe I'll find something better in a little bit. Okay. So the Yawn are next. And one thing I'm immediately beginning to notice with this game is the victory point. The victory points that are available for these early players for beating things up are kind of driving the game. They're much, much higher than is usual. Usually in the Britannia style games, taking territory and preserving your nation is really valuable. Now, of course, you know, you could say, well, what happens if you last longer? You'll be able to generate more points from this. But look at this. The only time you get territorial points with these countries so far is turn 3. You know, a couple of kills early in the game seems definitely worthwhile. So where are we? We're in Lianyang and Jing. Well, we want to take Hubei. And whoever survives this, you know, is kind of random. Well, I think wiping out a nation is definitely worth it. That's 2 extra victory points. So we will move in and do that 2-to-1 attack. Okay. So we each hit each other, and the Xiao are not particularly, they don't get any victory points for killing Yawn off during during the Yawn's turn. So we get not only the 3 points, but 2 more points for killing off the Xiao as a nation. And they're going to get bagged. They're out of the game now. So we'll find their card, and we will take all their pieces, and they go away, in addition to 5 victory points for the Yawn. The same kind of opportunity, which I am going to take. And I'm going to hit here with 2 dice against 1 to kill a nation. And I have succeeded in knocking out the Yawn, which is going to give me 5 victory points. For the Xiao, we have 3 points, so we zip around and we get a reinforcement, which we will place on the board. But here is the deal. We have to worry about the Quinn, who are coming in with an invasion with 4 extra armies. Let's see what's up with that. In Sichuan, what's turn 1? Reinforcements on Quinn move led by Zheng. So, if I could wipe them out, that would be great. And we could actually come pretty close, but I don't think we can actually wipe them out. So then the question becomes, well, what can we do? We're the same kind of situation where we want to get our points off of killing things during an enemy turn more than we want to get off of sticking around and holding territory. But there aren't many really easy attacks, and except for the Quinn, who appear to be the easiest. So I guess we'll go with that. We'll move forward and do a couple of these 2-to-1 attacks. That'll make us stronger on defense afterwards. And we will we'll do the first one in Sichuan. And no, I'm not going to be showing die rolls for the whole game. We have a split. Let me make sure the Quinn don't have some kind of different victory points. No, it's during attack. Now they last, first of all, on turn 2 they get victory points after their move, and then they get their turn 3 victory points, but they don't last any longer than any of these others and appear to have the same kind of victory conditions. Let's do this other one. And this also is there. So we'll get rid of a couple of Quinn pieces, which we gotta figure out where they go. Piles of them. And, oh, we just killed 2 Quinn. That's gonna be 6 points for the Xiao. Almost as many as the good guys. The people who've so far gotten, well, more than they have. People who've gotten a battle and wiped out a nation. Whoops. Be careful. And that puts us down to the Quinn. And now we gotta look at the invasion rolls, because I believe that means they get multiple attacks. But I don't think that they're a special invasion. I think they just get 2 attacks. So they're going to get... Uh-oh. Did I get the Xiao? The Xiao were holding 3 areas, so they're in the right place here. The Quinn are holding 1... Nope. 1 area at the beginning of the game. At the beginning of the turn. Well, at the beginning of their turn, which is an important factor. Because at the beginning of the turn they were holding a lot more territory, so they're not getting any reinforcements except for this. They do have a leader with that, which is going to give them bonuses. Let me look up what those mean, because they're a little different than they are in, Britannia, which I just kind of know. I've got 2 special things that have to do with the invasion here. First of all, I have an emperor who gets to move an extra province. And I thought he had a combat ability. This is... Jeez, that's shitty if it's... There we go. He gives a +1 bonus to their die roll and a -1 penalty to the opposing player's die roll. In addition to that, I have an invasion, which follows the rebellion, invasion, and uprising. Says I get a double move before I have to check for overpopulation or anything like that. Now, my goal here is destroying units for the most part. Although, next turn and turn 3, I get victory points on both of them. And those victory points are accumulated at the end of your player turn, if I recall correctly. No. The turn 3 victory points are accumulated at the end of the turn. I'm not sure. The turn 2 says immediately after move. Yeah. So you capture your victory points after everybody's gone normally, which I think is the same as the Britannia games. It's been a while. So we have the Quinn. We collected our income from them. I'm gonna have trouble remembering what I'm doing if I'm doing the game in this this detail. And I gotta make sure people are in for turn 1. Actually, this is gonna be kind of problematic because I have the whole deck set up there, but we'll see. So what do I want to do? Well, I'd love to wipe things out. And the easiest things to wipe out, well, the Xiao are almost begging for it. But remember, I have extra movement. I've got to drop everybody in, well, not in one place. Okay. Put one there. Put the rest here. Don't have to worry about stacking here. I'm going to move 2 into here. 2 into here. Now I have that 2-to-1 odds. And with my leader, I can move 1, 2, 3. I've got my leader with me, and I've got the attacker advantage, so I think I might be able to beat him up, and then I can come down and whack that. Got to be a little careful about population. What am I interested in here? Who's this? I can't even read them. Han, Xiao, Wei, Yawn, Quinn, and Xiao. These are not any of those. These are not any of those. The Huns, they're not of this. So yeah, I think my plan is only the Quinn will be left at the end of this if I do things right. So I'll come back after I do these 2 battles. Do the one with the leader. We took 1 loss that didn't matter to us particularly, but so far we've collected up 2. That's 6 points. Oh, we killed them as well as a nation, and they are the Xiao, so that will be an extra 2. So I'm at 8 points for wiping out the Xiao, but I got more coming. This is still my first movement. I'm gonna have 2 dice, and the defender's gonna have 2 dice. And I hit on 4s, but we reduced that to 3s because I have a +1 on the die roll. And the defender hits on 5s. It gets increased to 6s only because, again, I have the leader with me. So I got 2 hits. I have also wiped out the Queen. All right, it's time to think about next turn as well as wiping out these guys. Well, those guys, I want to just move 1, 2, 3 using my leader advantage. I can't get anybody else down there. But what happens next turn, anything of interest, because I do want to spread out and have territory, Vietnam and a Han Rebellion. Well, that Han Rebellion is going to just come in my territory. the more spread out I am, the more advantageous that is. I don't have to worry about these Quang. So, gosh, I don't know. You know. I would like to be in planes as much as possible. I'm going to go for kind of a central positioning and go to Hubei. Well, let me think about the Huns. What's up with Huns? Because they look like they're scary. They want to kill Hands. They actually don't care about killing my units. And this other thing here, which I can't read, is probably Shanbei. They might whack my units both cases if I'm in their way, which is a reason to not be out there. We'll just move everybody down here. And we have one final attack, which is, we'll get some blue dice since that's the blue player I'm hitting. 2 versus 2. Again, the bonuses of the leader. Oh, all right, I failed in my attack. Now, he's not allowed to retreat because he doesn't own any of this territory. You can't just retreat into empty territory. So I get another swing at the same. No reason, you know, to play my reroll or anything like that. And this time I kill 2 and lose another one myself. I have just killed, is that the Wei? The Wei. All right, so what have I gotten? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 points, I think, for the shoe. Make it 25. I'm sorry, for the Quinn. Make it 25. I see 3 points on the shoe, I think. Yeah. Okay. So 25 points for the Quinn. And this must be, you know, this is obviously a big nation for them, and this is a big point scoring turn for them as well, apparently. These things with all of these Britannia style games that rely on these victory point, you know, schedules that you have to meet and be in specific areas. We haven't seen that specific area nature yet, but you kind of have to know all the cards and what's going to happen, which is kind of a shame because there's a certain surprise factor to it that I like. The same with CDGs. But I feel less inclined to consider these kind of events. You kind of have to know them in order to know how to play. And you have to know what the pace of the game and where people are going to want to be and everything like that. So you kind of have to hold the whole game and play a few games of it, or else really zone out on the cards beforehand to know everything that's happening. Yeah, sometimes, you know, if you have a knowledge of the history, so like Britannia and the Danes, again, you might say, I see the Danes have a major invasion. Let me think about that. What does that mean? And then you go look at their cards, see what they want to do. Some of it is helped by having these piles out here, but I'm not going to be able to do a lot of that while I'm playing. I don't tend to when I'm playing solitaire anyway, but the video means that, you know, I'm spending more of my effort describing what's going on than thinking ahead necessarily. And when I play solo without the video, I'm generally picturing what's going on too much to do that kind of analysis. So it usually takes me a few games to get a feel. So the Kushans are next. I don't believe that they exist yet. I don't see them on here. So we'll skip them and we go to the Huns. The Huns are on the board. They want to kill Han armies. There aren't any. And they want to occupy, you know, territory. But next turn, do we have anything interesting? We have a revolt from the Han, which could be dangerous to us. Well, what would we do to figure that out? We'd look here and see what turn 2 rebellion led by Liu Bang. 3 areas, and I don't see any particular interest in, you know, killing off Huns. It's hard to tell if the Huns are, you know, if Blue is doing well. They've lost a country. I think what I want to do is spread out. Now, you know, hey, look, planes. No. This is not a territory in the game, and it's something that kind of disturbs me about the use of colors that are similar to the rest of the map. I feel like the coloration for the map could have been done a lot better with even just, you know, kind of gray shades. It wouldn't even need color, by indicating the border of maybe North and South China slightly different, and then the neutral areas all being a different color. Well, Russia is that pale white, but you know, that's used in the game. This mishmash of everything having colors, that doesn't help you play. This is not a map that Redmond Simonson would design. This is a map that, well, Decision Games made. And they have a tendency, you know, they'll take the old SPI classics and fuck up the graphic design because there's people who want all this color there or something. And I don't know what the hell they're thinking. But this is a garish presentation. There's no question of that. And, you know, it came out in the 90s, which was sort of the height of that kind of wonderful design work. Okay, so what do I want to do with my Huns? Well, first of all, I get my 1.5 points since they have a marker. But beyond that, and I'm a little confused as to whether, you know, so I have the Quang have gone, the Han, the Quinn. A lot of purple on the board. So I want to produce 1.5 points next turn to get stuff. Unfortunately for me, I think I'm gonna stay in the mountainous regions. This is an iffy thing. Instead, I could go into Sichuan, but I feel like that defensible terrain gives me more likelihood that I get to keep my Huns alive. And they do not produce any points this turn. There's nothing for them to kill. That's going to put me down to the Xianbei, who are in the game. So we'll see what they're up to. I got to swap batteries because this damn thing sucks battery juice. Oh, another thing. I have no idea how long the video is going to go. I can't tell how long my videos run. I can tell how long each current segment is. My old camera used to tell me how much memory I had left, basically, which, you know, how many hours of memory time I had left, which was like 9-10 hours. I assume that's on here. I'm not going to run out, but, you know, I'm probably just going to play 3 turns, and this first one is going to be longer than the next one. But I think I'm going to try to make the videos 3 turns each. That seems fair. And, you know, if they end up 2 hours instead of 1, that's life. The funny thing about life is, what's life? A magazine. How much does it cost? Which is that it almost inevitably seems like things come out, like video cameras, and they're pretty good to start with, right? Fairly, I'm not talking about the earliest ones, I'm talking about these little handheld ones I have. There may be something out there that's just perfect for me. But this Averio brand was pretty damn good to begin with. And then later ones of it were actually better, a little bit better. But they were fundamentally the same. Now, they've got this stupid touch screen, which complicates, you know, makes it more likely that they're going to be more broken from what my experience is. They suck more battery power, and they don't have features that I like available, at least not immediately available. There may be more features here, and whoever used it before set it up fiddled with it. I've got a rule book for it, but these things were so simple. It's kind of like the telephone, right? It used to be a telephone. You picked it up and you asked the operator to connect you to your party. That's a little before my day. Then you dialed a number. Now I can watch porn on my phone. Jesus. I don't need that. It's a telephone. I don't need to be able to take pictures. It's a telephone. Do I need to be able to carry it around? Well, that's kind of a neat feature, even though I hate it. But I can see where you want that. But do you want a computer in your pocket? Maybe. But what does it end up doing? It ends up having people flipping through that constantly instead of interacting with the world around them. Oh, well. All right. So what's up with this guy? He's interested in plains and highlands. He doesn't have anything too exciting. Where is he? He's in Inner Mongolia. That's where the half point. A half point isn't really good. I am going to actually spread these guys out up here because I don't hear anything that's coming up there. And being over at the edge of the map, well, sometimes that can be dangerous. But again, live and learn, right? Okay, who's next? After the Xiao Bay, we get to the Nanyu. I think they're actually in here. No. Who? Wasn't someone left? I guess we've played everyone. Okay, that brings us to the end of the turn. There were no countries that had victory points at the end of the turn. Again, that's usually the end of turn victory points, is the every 3 turns. So see, this is the player turn steps. There should be something to encapsulate the whole game turn. I'm just making sure that there's nothing I'm missing, but there doesn't seem to be something which holds a player turn within it. So I'm going to assume that we're done with turn 1 there. Move to turn 2, and we'll have some new things happening. These happen inside the player's turn. They don't, there's no like, set up pieces at the beginning of the turn or whatever. No, it happens within a player's turn. So there's a consistent design throughout. And who's dead, who's not? Well, this is one of the problems with this huge mass of nations is I have to look here, and so I know that misspelled Quinn, King, are in the game, but which ones do I skip, which ones do I not? That would be helpful under some circumstances. Oh, and I can add up my points for the turn. So we got 8 points here, 5 here, 28 for purple, and 6 for green. And we also know some nations that are gone, so I can clear them out and say, hey, the Wei are completely done. We know they were worth 3. The Yawn are completely done. They were worth 5. The Kui, I believe, are gone. They were worth 5 for the game. The Han, I believe they're gone. They were worth 3 for the game. The Quinn are still around. The Kang are still around. They're worth 0. The Chu were worth 6. And I think I've got them all caught up. One of the feelings that I have is the directions people go in, whatever, it's possible something other than the Quinn could survive. It's possible someone could hunt the harder to get to things. But I think this is actually probably more or less the expected result. All the inner Chinese warring states have been wiped out. So I guess this is the warring states period. I thought that was a little later in the game. But yeah, we've gotten, sort of a central dynasty to begin. All right. Look at the Quang card. I noticed there's a notes here. I've got to keep an eye out for this kind of stuff. The particular type of font that this is written in, etc. And the fact that special notes for the powers were not called out, like this particular power was not called out in the rulebook itself. And that's fine, but also nowhere was it mentioned there are notes that aren't in the rules, which would have been helpful. It mentions Tibet's a one population location. So I moved them up from 1/2 to 1.5. They should actually be at 2 right now. They should have had a half point extra population from last turn. And I'll try to keep an eye out for stuff like that. Now, next turn, I will be getting an extra piece. And I think I'm safest hiding in the mountains the way I am. I do want to be spread out so that I get that extra half population point. But yeah, I'm probably going to want to, set myself up so I can maximize my points on turn 3. So I don't want to do anything special right now. And just babbling way too much. Nothing's happening there. And now we start moving through. Hey, have these guys died off yet? And I think our first thing... Oh, the Han exists, actually. The quantity of different nations and my unfamiliarity with them and with the game itself, but mainly with the nations, is going to add a risk that I'll just skip something that's present. The big stacks of countries that as they disappear. Okay, no problem. The Han card, which... they appear to have been killed, and I don't know who fucking killed them. So I'm gonna have to look through the... Either that or I forgot to set them up entirely, which I don't think is the case. I do remember something being here. So I must have killed them and put them back there and didn't realize that there was only one of this nation. Again, because of the similarity. In Britannia, you have these circular counters, which aren't that distinguishable, but the name is very readable on them. These, the print on them, and again, this is a graphics design issue, and Decision Games is not well known for putting out, good graphic design on their games. So yeah, I'm gonna try to guess who should get the extra point for destroying the Han. Guess it was the Y who did it. They come immediately or soon after, and we're in the same location. So I gave an extra point for that. Point's probably not too important. And notably, I had the total scored for the Han, so I knew they had disappeared at the end of last turn, even though I had left their card in play, etc. That means we're going to be jumping down quite a bit, I think. All the way to the key? No, the key are gone. Yeah, this is fucking ridiculous. Maybe to the Quinn? I don't know. And what do we have coming up this turn? The Nanyu and the Han. Did we pass the Han? No, they're up there. Yeah. I think all these others are dead. So the Quinn spread out. They grew an extra piece, and they generate 5 victory points for the turn there. And that pushes us Kushans. I don't know when the fuck the Kushans happen. I think it's fairly late in the game. I see kittens there. Not everybody has a marker, but I'm pretty sure the Kushans do. No, that's kittens again. Oh, they're down here. Okay. Normally, most of the countries kind of follow a turn order of how early they came in the game and where they show up. But as we see here, things like the Huns, the Xianban, Xianban, Xianbei, are, put after somebody who comes in later. That happens occasionally in Britannia. I'm not so sure how often it happens here, but it's a disconcerting thing that you really kind of have to get used to. And again, like knowing when people are going to come in during the game, it takes a few plays to kind of start assimilating and understanding the sequence of play where it's anomalous. Okay, so that gets us to the Hunsies. Quick pass past whatever these are, the Xiao, gets us to the Nanu. Now, they've got to leave Vietnam. They come in with 3 pieces there, and they get their population marker at 0, and they're going to be getting points for, well, pretty much what everybody gets points for. There's not a lot of distinguishment in this game, it seems. The Quinn were somewhat afraid of this coming forward. Well, this doesn't look that impressive. Now, if this was a Britannia itself, I would consider putting here. And I think I'll go there anyway because I can only move 2 spaces. But things are less defensible in this game. 1 unit marching down here could easily conquer something. So it is a little iffy whether or not you want to spread out. But my nature is just to do that, so I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to overcome something that you're used to doing in a particular type of game. And now we come to the complex people, the Han. And what do we got for them? First of all, I'll throw this here. We are going to be getting 3 Han rebellions, and then we get to pick where to put Liu Bang. So the peasant rebellions. Okay, so in order to do this, officially what we should be doing is 11 to 66 dice, I think, unless there's special rules on this one. But honestly, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So unless there's something special going on about the Han Rebellion, and there might be. I don't think there is. The 3 Kingdoms Rebellion is a special case. Yeah, I think the Han Rebellion is just normal. It makes sense not to be rolling to see if we get, again and again, to see if we get a rebellion on the Quinn. Now, yeah, it's specifically against the Quinn, so that can't show up on anyone else. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the first one at least. We'll see where we go, but okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a rebellion here. That gets rid of this. I don't think they get points for that. Well, they don't get points anyway, so I don't have to look that up. But now there's a possibility of disloyalty in adjacent spaces before I start rolling for more spaces. Which means, I look at the rebellion rules somewhere. This is not an uprising. Okay, it's somewhere. Somewhere we have rules for this. It's probably in the place new armies. So now, if there are loyal armies present, that province becomes the center of the rebellion. Okay, next, for each province with loyal armies that's adjacent to the rebellion, should roll a die to determine if the armies stay loyal. Is this done? Wait. Okay, there's an example for this. Basically, what I'm curious with is, do I roll all 3 center provinces and then roll for anything that's adjacent, or do I get this, roll all 3 of these, then check another one, roll all 3 of those? I suspect that I generate the centers first. It's not absolutely clear from how this is written, the way that I see it. Yeah. No, I believe so. I believe it is clear. Okay, so now I have 5 cities, or 5 provinces. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with this, and so I get this one. And then the third, I have 4. 4 is not very good, but 1, 2, 3, 4, it's easier than rolling at 11 to 66 again and again and again. So that's 4 to here, 5, 6. Gets me this province. Okay. So now I've got 3 of these. At this point, I get to roll on the loyalty of these 2 provinces. This one is not at risk. I need a die roll higher than the nation's original power factor to stay loyal. The original power factor is 3, so I need a 4 or higher. And we check for the first one, no, and the second one, no. So we have a couple more Han showing up. And the Quinn have basically been completely overwhelmed just by the luck of the dice of that. And now I get to pick my dude. I have no idea what to do with him. We'll see if we want to replace it. And Plains and Highlands are bonused. So here the question is, do we want to spread out? You know, the extra population is nice, but what's happening next turn? Absolutely nothing. So what are we going to get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on the board. Well, that's going to be 1 reinforcement. So I can afford to send 2 units in my Emperor in, and we'll shift around a little like that. Whatever. Okay, and we might as well do the attack here. Remember, we've got the Emperor in place. And again, I mean, if this whole battle fails, I might want to reverse everything, you know? But if I'm not seeing something that crazy, I probably am perfectly fine killing off the Quinn here. And for his point of view, this is just a battle. He's going to die anyway. There's no way that it's worth it. A 3 hits because of the Emperor being present. We don't get points for killing individual pieces, but we do get points for killing the Empire. So the Han just got 3 points for destroying the entirety of the Quinn. Now, here's what's special. A rebellion, I forgot about this. A rebellion is one of these special things that gives you a double move. So I actually do get to spread out afterwards. Let's record the scores, and so we have a final score for the Quinn at 30 points for the game, as we have the Han spread out. Everyone else, so I'm checking the top of these to make sure, hey, we haven't reached that turn yet, and we haven't, so we go down to turn 3. And this will be the scoring turn, and we'll reset this and all the decks. This is not how I generally handle things in a Britannia game with a deck of cards. This is kind of closer to how I handle things in Invasions, where I just set up a stack of the nations, because there were a lot there too. Sometimes, 4 or 5 in a player's hands at once. Generally in Britannia I have them spread out. This just seems to work well with these particular kind of cards or whatever. I am having some difficulty coping with it, but I don't know that I would be better off if I had, if I had this set up on a different table, basically. Because part of what's causing me to do this mechanism is the fact that I've got, is the particular table space that I'm using, rather than, something that's longer, where I'd have one set. This fits on this table almost, and it's just what it is. So as we're starting turn 3 here, I really do like these this information, even if I didn't have the counters laid out on it. It's very helpful to be able to see what's going on in the near future, etc. Especially at the start of a victory point turn. In Britannia, at least the copy that I have, which doesn't have something like that, it's the old Avalon Hill copy, every player has their own hand of cards. But basically what you're asking people is, oh, hey, can I look at your cards, see if you have anything, and see where you want to go, etc. Well, to some extent you want to see where people want to go, but here at least you have something that shows you what's going to change, what big things are going to happen in the very near future. This huge thing is just the division between the two half games that could happen. So we're going to start with the king, and we have some issues here. So we want to hold Tibet, definitely. The question is, are we willing to move 2 pieces into Tibet? And, we could lose a lot of points if we don't hold Tibet. So that's kind of important on this turn to make sure we have it. Let's get our population there, which is 1.5, because we get a special point total for Tibet itself. We find ourselves, that's purple with pale blue. It's the extra piece. And now, of course, we could move into here or something, but I think we're fine just taking our 4 points and being as defensive as possible. Next turn, we're going to get 1.5 points. At some point, we max out on the chart, and that's something you don't want to do, because then you're wasting points if you don't create troops and send them out to go conquer stuff. Of course, we could try to do something tricky, but I don't see doing that. Reorder the red deck to take advantage of these Kushans, because the Han were on top. Now let's take a look at what happens. We're going to start in Kazakhstan with 3 units. Up here, that can't be good for, there's basically one place we can go. Okay, so we want Xinjiang and other planes very badly. They're worth a lot to us. In fact, everything's worth a lot to us. This is not an invasion, I don't believe. It would say invade, which means we could throw 3 units into Xinjiang and increase our chances of victory there. Or we could use 2 and pass through and put a unit into a mountain space. Now, I'm trying to remember combat in mountains, because it's not the same as in Britannia and most of the other games. The whole combat system in this is a little weird. So the defensive benefit is -2 to the attacking armies. They need 6s. So they'll actually be at a disadvantage attacking into the mountain. Now, let's see how big our hand is. We're allowed to have 4 units. I think we just want to throw the 3 in, and I'm assuming we'll win that fight. If we don't, I'll come back gasping. What it does is, this is kind of cleverly done. It's to it gives the Huns the last shot, but it means that the Huns don't have an immediate, hey, let's defend this. They could have done that last turn, though. So it actually sets things up so the Huns are advantaged over the Kushans if they didn't get wiped out then. And now I gotta look at these Huns. I got a whole bunch of them on the board. Oh, one thing that I meant to say, and it's actually why I turned the video back on, was remember, this is a victory point turn, which means nobody's scoring points for the turn yet. They all will at the end of the turn, and we'll show a little of that. So here are the Huns. They want to destroy Han, and there are Han now. And those are worth 2 points each, which is kind of nice. Whereas our points for territory is not all that great. But our Huns are quite far away from things. The Emperor is here. The Emperor is a +1/-1. What that would mean is that switches the advantage. The attacker would only hit on 5s and 6s. The defender would hit on 4, 5, and 6. The +1, -1. Still might be worth moving 2 units in, because this is worth 6 victory points if I get that. So I am going to go for that. And because the planes are worth something to me, I'm going to shift over there. That gives more space to these to expand. It's kind of my thinking there. And now we have actually an interesting battle here where, let's use 2 blue dice. There's only 1 die for these, but for the hands, but they, again, they hit on 4, 5, or 6. The Huns hit on 5 or 6 because of the leader. We each knock 1 unit out. I've got to make sure the hands don't get some kind of bonus for killing anything, you know, defensively or whatever. So we can just put the Hun unit back. Oh, I forgot. Hun's got 1.5 points. Hold on. Not enough. Okay. So now I get the 2 points for a Han army destroyed and the 4 points for killing an emperor. So that's worth 6 points. That's pretty sweet. Xingbi, after getting their points, generated an army. Hey, I put it here. I got a question. Maybe I want to go into Hebi. Now, my victory points are 1 for plains, highlands, or half. So, you know, I definitely want to be at least this. But the question is, do I want to shift that down 1? Now, that's iffy. If this wasn't a victory point turn, maybe. But crossing the wall gives up. I still get a defensive bonus in either direction from the wall. And that's kind of nice. So the other issue is, how many of these are there? Well, there's a fair number more. But I would rather preserve their size. And I can always push into Inner Mongolia. It is an actual space. And try to slip around the wall that way. There aren't a lot of pieces on the board, so I think that's safe. This is the only green stuff on the board right now. Ran through these guys down here. What the hell are they? I can't read them. The Nanyu or whatever. And I'm on the Han. My population growth is going to be 1. I looked here, and here is the Great Rebellion. Shu Wu and Wei. That's going to be against the Han, as far as I remember. Now, I don't get points for killing things. So, you know, again, I don't know what the scores are like in terms of balance, whatever. Am I doing well? Somebody got a whole bunch of points already. Purple got a bunch of points, but I'm not in a position to hit purple. They're all down there, what's left of them. I destroyed them before. What I'm going to do is actually place this there, move into Hebi, take advantage of that wall defense, you know, force these guys to work their way around if they want to come in. That gives me at least 1 defense, because otherwise they could just ooze right in into play. Now the wall is there from the beginning, I think. Let me make sure. Yep, looks like it. I mean, it took various forms. It wasn't this long all along, and it changed how it was configured. It was originally just earthenworks. I have very little that I want. Like, I don't want to attack things, so I'm not going to try to get points that way. The one thing I might have done to get points that might be worth it, put 2 units in here, go into Shaanxi, and try to wipe out the Huns. That might be worth it, you know. Geez, I don't know. The reason I don't want to do that, actually, what I want to do is I want to spread out, because I'm having these revolts, right? So if I do this, let's go there. Let's go there. There. And here, I guess. By spreading out, yes, my position's weaker. I can't, you know, I can't defend a perimeter or anything by putting heavier strength on it, but that's okay. I'm going to have a revolt. I'm going to pretty much fall apart after this. So by being a cluster, I'd be in the position that we saw whoever they took over from, the Quinn, Chin, whatever. And that will... By the way, this is not overstacked. It's 3 per planes. So that will... It makes it less likely that I'll lose all my areas, but it still could happen pretty easily. I think we're done here. If I look through these, everything's turn 5 or later. So, it's time to score. And at this point, we can go through each nation in time, and I'll look through these. We'll do them in reverse here. So, for the Han, each plane is worth 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no highlands. And for the Kushans, 5, 4 for Xinjiang. So that puts me to a total of 9. But I actually, because of the way this works, I actually write these down separately. So I was 5. Why are the Kushan? Oh, the Kushan come earlier there. And that means I have a total of 9. Now, with the powers that are going to... let's see, somebody already had points here. The blue player already had points. So let's look at them next, and then I'll skip the others and do them here. So the Nanyu, each plane in each highland, well, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 planes. So I'll just put their score here. But the Huns have 1 for each plane. They score 2 points. I already had 6. If I can do this, question is, do I have enough strength and dexterity with one hand? That gets us up to a total of 8 for those 2 extra points. And we'll continue with the others. I'll come back with what the scores are. And we can see the scores of the Xianbei, where Green's only point scorer, their only nation, created 3 points. So they've got a running total of 9. Running total doesn't really matter, though, because unless you know the flow of the game, you don't know where the big points are sitting. You know, so like, is this 25, 30 points total for the Quinn? Is that good? You know, I don't know. It looks like a lot, but these games often have people who have front-loaded score, and until you play it, you don't know what it is. And it's usually not just a single play that requires it. So here, you know, we're looking at this, 28, 37 points they've collected so far. They look like they're kicking butt. Certainly wiping out their capacity to score for Tibet would be valuable. And we see some of these others, 17 for the red player, but the Han are about to take their step down. On the other hand, the Kushans are powerful at this point. And then here, 21 points for blue. You can't really analyze it without a knowledge of what the play is going to be like over the course of the game. And, you know, with some of the games, you look at them and you say, wow, they're obviously unbalanced. And then you start finding that there are different paradigms that the game can be played under, different ways you can handle things. Personally, the old Avalon Hill Britannia, I think green has the advantage. Back when it was played at whatever Avalon Con became, WFC or something like that, World Federated Championship, I don't know. Whatever that became, green was not well regarded. In fact, it was red, I think, that was most regarded. Nowadays, and people used to do a bidding mechanism where people would bid a number of points, and that number of points wasn't very many. You know, it was like under 5 points in general, and I felt like green had like a 20-point lead quite often. So I don't know. I've played against people who played in that environment, and they weren't able to change the nature of the game on their own. But it might be the collective action And I've seen collective action against green to prevent the Danes. That's not sufficient. Is able to do something that I'm just not aware of. And I'm not saying green always won, not by any means. Nor am I saying that when they won, they always won by like 20 points. I'm saying that that sometimes the bids were 1-2 points as to who got to win a game. People had a very different perception than I did. So that's the end of turn 3 here. I'm just, floating that out here to say this could end up seeming really, really unbalanced, but my understanding of these games is such that I don't trust those impressions as much as I do with some other games on first impression. Although honestly, my first impressions with Britannia are still my impressions that green has the edge, but that edge has diminished greatly because I can see things that are done to prevent that. But there are things that are done to prevent it because it's a known factor more than anything else, such as the Romans going into Wales and wiping out all the Welsh. That takes a whole bunch of points away. So there might, the dynamics of how players learn to play the game may be a factor in it. There are exceptions, though. Invasions, for example, I have no idea. I played it once, and it seemed chaotic. The rules seemed incomplete enough, and it's kind of a different thing. But AWE's Hispania, I consider to be horribly, horribly unbalanced. And I've seen no evidence that it's not. Basically, there's players in that game. Essentially, each country is given a weighting, kind of like these are, but those aren't, the points you're expected to make. In Hispania, you're given a weighting equal to the points that you're kind of expected to make, the average amount of points you're supposed to make. And there's like one major nation at least, I think there's actually 2, and they're both in the same color, who very easily can be stopped completely, and that player is just knocked out of the game. And in fact, by sort of natural, naive play, they get stopped. And I can't see any reason, you might not wipe them out, but they simply do not make anywhere near the points they're expected to make. They're expected to be sort of the major power in Spain for a period of time, and I have never seen it happen. Even when nobody is really trying to stop them, just by naturally being where you want to be, you prevent them, and they take enough casualties that they never become the power that they're supposed to. Hey, it's kind of like another Azure Wish game that I love, Europa Universalis, where the Russians just are this horrible point sink. Okay. And let's just take wandering. You should listen to some of my supposed rants, which I think are more like rambles. There's no sense behind what I say. It's just diarrhea of the mouth coming out. But sometimes there's little bits of stuff in that flow of feces. All right, this one's going to come up.